Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the NFL Playoffs Podcast. And the playoffs will be starting today. As today, the wild card playoffs will begin. So currently, there are 12 teams in the playoffs right now, and we got a long ways to go until the Super Bowl starts. But just to say, if you're in the NFL playoffs, everybody has a shot at winning the Super Bowl. Everybody does, including the Titans today. And in the NFC, very strong. The Falcons are playing the Rams tonight. And then tomorrow will be the Panthers and the Saints. And looking at those four NFC teams, all of them really have a shot to go to the Super Bowl. Yet, two of them, one today, one tomorrow, will be eliminated from the playoffs. And their season will end in the wild card round, even if they did have Super Bowl aspirations. So much going on this weekend. We are previewing the wild card round. We'll make predictions, and then next week will be divisional conference championship. Then spend 2 weeks preparing for the Super Bowl before we let out a Super Bowl podcast. But here we go. So, Titans Chiefs. So, the Titans this year, kind of interesting year. At the beginning of the year, I thought, okay, they're going to win 10, 11, maybe even 12 games. They're going to really make strides. They're really going to show how good they are. They're going to be this year's breakthrough team, and who knows how far they could get. Well, they're in the playoffs, but for an example, they didn't look so good at many points throughout the regular season. They're 9-7. Same record as last year, except Mariota's taking a huge step back. Mariota's not really maybe had one or two good games this year instead of really being dominant for a stretch, and that has affected them greatly. DeMarco Murray, who was supposed to last year one of the NFL's leading rushers, this year took a huge step back, and this looks to be Derrick Henry's team, and DeMarco Murray won't even play in this game, and the Titans' offense at times has really struggled this year. Now, looking at this, here's another big factor. Marcus Mariota threw more interceptions than touchdowns, 15, compared to just 12 touchdowns. So looking at that, his interception total is more than doubled, while his touchdown total has been cut in half. And look, and if the Titans have one of these games today, they're probably going to be eliminated. I really think they'll be eliminated. I just don't think they can move the ball well enough on offense. Their offense is just not good enough. They're in a Kansas City environment. Chiefs fans are definitely be fired up, knowing that they were once 6-6. The playoffs were not certain by any means about a month ago. Now, hey, this Chiefs team can turn it on. They can go to the Super Bowl. So anyways, I just don't think the Titans will win. Offense is limited. No receivers made a big production. Eric Decker, who's had some huge years in Denver in the past, way down this year. Numbers are way down. Caught just one touchdown pass. Caught double digits multiple times. Twice in Denver, Peyton Manning the quarterback, and with the New York Jets a couple of years ago. And Corey Davis, who they got, thought, okay, he's really going to out Mariota out. So they're really two big pieces, Decker and Davis. Corey Davis has been hurt at times and just really has been ineffective this year. He's not shown the potential that he is capable of being the top wide receiver in this year's draft. So offense, major concern, I'd say, for the Titans. I don't trust their offense, especially not now. And before, listen, the Titans were 8-4 at one point. Look like they may be able to win the AFC South. They're really challenging the Jaguars. Yet, here's what happened. They lost to the Cardinals. They lost to the Niners. And they lost to the LA Rams, who was a very good team. But they just got outplayed in each and every game. And they've had some bad losses. And yeah, they had a 6-1 stretch. But here's the thing. In Week 7, they almost lost to the Cleveland Browns. They were about as close as any team in the league to losing to the 0-16 Browns. They beat them 9-12, deep into overtime. They almost had a tie with the Cleveland Browns. So, unlike last year where the Titans, even though they missed the playoffs last year, they're actually a better team. I feel like they have more potential. And this is year 3 for Mariota, so what is there to get excited about? Is Mariota going to be like this his whole career? Is this just a down year? We'll see. Is this the best the Titans ever become? Is this their ceiling right here? 9-7, getting into the playoffs in a weak year, like this year's conference, if they're in the NFC, they would have missed the playoffs by a mile. And look, that's just who they are. And on defense, they're about average. They're great at run defense, though. Outstanding. I mean, teams are afraid to run on them. And the Chiefs, who, very good running team, can be when they run a lot. They can be one of the better running teams in the NFL at times. I think Kareem Hunt has a good game in the playoffs. I really do. I think if they give the ball to Kareem Hunt, the Chiefs will win, and I'll get to that a little bit later. But, look, their linebackers for the Chiefs, great at stopping the run. Great. Avery Williamson, 90.91 run grade if you round it up on defense. That is one of the highest in the league. 6th of the National Football League of everybody. Okay, they are good at stopping the run. That is their strengths. And they also have some good, secondary guys. Kevin Byard, who single-handedly saved them against the Browns. Went crazy with 3 interceptions against the Browns. And then had multiple other games, like huge against the Jaguars in the final game of the regular season. That could be something to watch out for. Of course, the Chiefs, they run their system. Alex Smith will not throw very many interceptions. The Chiefs are very conservative, so it'll be hard to take the ball away from the Chiefs. The Chiefs are the type of team that does not turn the ball over. So their defense is definitely better than the Chiefs. No question about that. They actually have a strength, which is stopping the run. But if that doesn't work, then that's going to happen. So looking at that, there they go. And so now looking at that, they very nearly lost to the Browns. They had a 6-1 stretch, started 2-3, 8-4, lost 3 in a row. So can Mariota show up for one game? Can Mariota just play like he did against the Colts in Week 6? That's when the Titans played really well in a game like that. Other games, they've played really poorly. So can Mariota step up, have one good game? I know it's in Kansas City. And the thing with the Chiefs are, look, they started out 5-0. They went on a 1-6 stretch. They're down to 6-6. They won their last 4. So which version of the Chiefs are we getting? Are we getting the Chiefs that went through a bad stretch? Oh, then they lose today. That's the thing about the Chiefs. They cannot afford to go into that stretch. I think the Chiefs are vulnerable. They could lose today, be badly outplayed today, or they could go to the Super Bowl. I mean, they are inconsistent. So, now let's talk about the Chiefs. So the Chiefs, they're back in the playoffs. They've been there 3 years in a row, 4th time in 5 years. And how good is this team really? I mean, look, the Chiefs in their first 2 games beat the Patriots and the Eagles. They're 5-0. They went on a 1-6 stretch. They lost to teams like the Raiders. During that stretch, I mean, yeah, they beat the Raiders in Week 14, which turned out to ultimately lead them to the division title. But they lost to the Raiders, which they would have lost to them again, and the Chargers. Look, what the Chiefs did is they won 2 huge games by beating somebody like the Raiders and like the Chargers when they needed to, more than anything. That's what they accomplished. They won games 13 and 14, 2 huge important games. But then they lost to the Giants in the Meadowlands, one of the worst teams in the National Football League. They lost to the Jets, who aren't awful, not as bad as people thought, but still not a very good team. Still a bad loss. So they've had some bad losses, and we don't know who they are. And this is only one game for the Chiefs. This is one game. And they have to win this. It's win or go home. Now, if they win, they could very well be heading to New England or Pittsburgh. So for the Chiefs, it's really choose. They're going to have a rematch with one of these teams for sure if they win. Whether that's the Patriots, who we know what happened in Week 1 when the season started, or whether it's against the Steelers. We don't know about that. But the Chiefs, if they turn it on, they can even go and maybe win the Super Bowl. If they have one of these bad games, they could lose today. I really don't know which version of the Chiefs is going to play today, is going to show up. It's really hard to say. Now, Alex Smith, who just had a career high in passing yards and touchdowns. For the first time in his career, threw for 4,000 yards, which is not that big of a number in the modern NFL. But is Smith an MVP? No, but Smith looked like an MVP caliber player in the first quarter of the year, really. I don't think Smith is, but Smith can go back to that first quarter, which I don't think we're always going to get that version of Smith. The Chiefs can go to and I've said this a lot of times, can make it to the Super Bowl if that version of Alex Smith shows up today. Now we do have Kareem Hunt at running back, Rookie of the Year candidate. Well over 1,300 yards, so many times. And if we see that version of Kareem Hunt show up, best version of Kareem Hunt, who can rush for well over 100 yards at any given moment, that's the Chiefs we want to see. And their offense, look, I like their weapons. Travis Kelce at tight end. Tyreek Hill. That can really destroy the Titans. Those two options right there. They can go deep with Hill. And Kelce can be reliable on all sorts of drives. So they have a lot of offensive weapons. Their offense has the potential to be great. And their defense, look, for the Chiefs, that's a weakness right there. They allow a lot of yards. That's something that was once a strength, has become a weakness for them. The Chiefs do not have a very good defense. And look, in week 1, they had Eric Berry play, which I talked about that a lot at the very beginning of the year. Eric Berry was dominant that week, just really limited the Patriots' offense, was guarding tight ends like Gronk a lot. And Berry went down in week 1. And they don't have that playmaker. They do not have a defensive playmaker who can really limit the offense. They don't have that kind of guy. Yes, they do have Marcus Peters, who could force multiple turnovers. Could happen today. They do have Justin Houston, who's not as dominant, say, he was before, but can be dominant. So they have the pieces. Now, their defense is not a Super Bowl caliber defense. It is not at all. It's not the kind of defense where, the offense is struggling. The defense has got them. They can go to the Super Bowl. No, not anywhere close like that. To go to the Super Bowl and even win this game, they will need offense. But they have a few weapons on defense, but nothing like it was before. So for the Chiefs, the Titans have looked shaky on offense a lot of times. The Chiefs are favorites, and the Chiefs' offense have a huge advantage on offense. The Titans in recent weeks have not looked like a playoff team. I mean, do they look like a team that's capable of winning a playoffs? And they have much more playoff experience. They have guys who are in the playoffs now for the fourth time in their careers, even if they are young. And I think the Chiefs win since their offense is so much better. They're not going to. I do not think they'll be the team that they were from week 6 through 13 that they were for half of the year. I think they're the team that showed up in the last quarter of the season. So Bills Jaguars next. So for the Bills, they're in the playoffs. What kind of team are they? I mean, I don't know. When you see them play, it's hard to say, really. They're very dependent on LaShawn McCoy. Let's just put it at that. They throw a lot of screens to LaShawn McCoy. They give the ball to McCoy a lot. The offense is very dependent on McCoy. And McCoy is limited. So when that happens, what do? Well, there really are no other options. They don't have very good pass catching options. The Bills are just not that type of team. They're not very good on offense. They don't have a great defense either. Tyrod Taylor, who is careful with the ball, is solid, but his numbers do not impress you at all. And passing is not their strength. So they're going to have to be dependent on LaShawn McCoy. And if LaShawn McCoy can't do anything, going against the Jaguars defense, who, great against the pass, dominant, two dominant corners, pass rush is completely dominant, there is no way that the Bills can win this game unless McCoy has a great game. Now, what the Bills are also bad at, they're bad at run defense. The Jaguars can give the ball to Fournette. a lot of times. That could kill them. Now, their biggest strength is they're good at stopping the pass. They do not allow many passing touchdowns. They have two very talented safeties, Micah Hyde, who's in the Pro Bowl, and Jordan Poyer, both ranked very, very high among people at Pro Football Focus, very good at coverage. And Tre'Davious White, who had an outstanding rookie year, great at coverage as well. That could be what gets them, since Blake Bortles, who can have a terrible game, threw 5 interceptions the last 2 games, can have a multiple interception game at any given point. Now, that happens, and you look at best case, worst case scenario, the best way I think the Bills can win is if they limit the passes. If Blake Bortles has a terrible game and LeSean McCoy somehow able to put together a good game, that's how they win. It's possible. That's the only way I can see. But the Jaguars, heavy favorites. I mean, look at the Jaguars. Now, if Bortles is very, very good, like a 3-game stretch in December, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions, doing something like that, and they really move the ball really well. Fournette has a great game. Their defense is on it. There's 2 case scenarios. Best case scenario for the Jaguars in the playoffs. Best case scenario. They dominate. They blow out the Bills. They rematch the Steelers. They do what they did last time. It was the same recipe of success. Oh, yeah. And they go against Tom Brady, who, playing against the Giants in the Super Bowl, playing against a team like the Broncos, who great at putting up pressure. There's no one to really throw the ball to. They win the defense with their Super Bowl. They win the defense. Bortles has a very good playoffs. And they win the Super Bowl. I think they're capable of that. Worst case scenario is their offense does nothing, and the Bills somehow find a way to beat them. That's the worst case scenario. So we'll see what happens. But they're not AFC favorites. But I just think their defense is so great that that's the kind of defense that can win you a Super Bowl. I really do. So anyways, next up, running back, Fournette. Look, their goal is to give Fournette the ball a lot of times, 20, 25 times. Yeah, get 100-plus yards. That would be ideal. It'll really help them move the ball around. But it's possible that might not be an option. So, their defense. Look, we just talked about their defense. It's great. They're second in points in total yards. So they do not let you move down the field. They do not let you score. They get to the quarterback. They force a lot of pressure. Calais Campbell, great signing. Got him over from the Cardinals, very high grade. And second in the NFL in total sacks, 14.5. Yannick Ngakoue, who great at forcing pressure, great at causing turnovers as well, along with having 12.5 sacks. And then up the middle is great. Malik Jackson made the Pro Bowl this year. And then you look at their corners. Now, listen, 2 years ago they weren't there. Last year, Jalen Ramsey was a rookie. And Boye was in Houston. Great moves to get both of them on this team. They're both dominant. Now when you look at that, you have one option to go to. Oh, the other option's closed. That's what they have. They're just like the Denver Broncos in terms of having great cornerbacks. And look, they're second and fifth. Both have grades over 90 according to Pro Football Focus. Both force turnovers. Both have 10 combined interceptions. Their safeties are good too. They'll force turnovers. They're good at covering and stopping the run. Linebacker's great. Telvin Smith, best run stopping linebacker in the NFL, and a very high grade, 88.8, 93 run grade. So look, the Jaguars have a great defense with little weakness. They can go to the Super Bowl with defense like this. And look, they're very likely to win this game. The Bills' offense seems short-handed, but we know what their weaknesses are. Their offense could stall. And look, I have them winning, so that means they're going to Pittsburgh, and I think they're capable of beating the Steelers. I really do. So I got the Jaguars winning that. So now the NFC side. So we have the Falcons. Look, the Falcons, they're not great. They were a little rough in October. Didn't play very well. They lost to the Bills. They lost to the Dolphins. Teams like that, they struggle in October. They're 4-4. Yet, You know why the Falcons are in the playoffs? They took care of business. They beat somebody like the Cowboys, who were 5-3 at the time. They're 4-4. Now all of a sudden, they won a tiebreak over them. They're one game behind the Seahawks. What do? They beat the Seahawks. Tiebreaker. And you want to go back to week 3. They beat the Lions. So looking at all these factors, the Falcons took care of business. Since all 3 of those teams are 9-7, that's why the Falcons are in the playoffs. They won the games that they needed to. And they're not as good as last year. Not as good as last year. They're 10-6. They're 11-5 last year. That's one less win. But significantly worse. They're a 3-6 seed, and they have a long road to get back to the Super Bowl. Now, Matt Ryan's not going to win the MVP. Not going to win the MVP. Had a pretty good year, but his numbers are way down. Instead of 37 passing touchdowns, had only 20. You know, at times, connection with Julio Jones wasn't anywhere near perfect. They had some. They could not. There really at times where they could not move the ball down the field very well. They had trouble connecting. Their chemistry wasn't always perfect this year. And I think the departure of Kyle Shanahan is important too. But if Matt Ryan was great in the playoffs last year, if they can put together a great playoff, they can go back to the Super Bowl. Now, the running back core, Freeman and Coleman are back together once again. They each have 850 and 650. Freeman did miss 2 games due to a concussion. Julio Jones had some great games. Julio Jones had another really good year, and I think Julio Jones, like last year in the playoffs, was absolutely dominant against the Packers in the playoffs. One of the best performances by a receiver I've ever seen. I think Julio can go off in the playoffs. And here's one thing to watch for. Mohamed Sanu, who, against the Bucs, had that touchdown pass. Mohamed Sanu can be a sneaky good passer. I'd watch for that trick play. That could be the difference between winning and losing. That play can make a huge difference. And their defense is even better than it was last year. It really is. And I like this defense. It's still young. Same 3 guys. Keanu Neal, Deion Jones, Devondre Campbell. All rookies last year, starting for a Super Bowl team. They're now second-year players. It seems like they've made strides in year 2. They have gotten better. I definitely like this defense a lot better going up against the Rams. Defense is so much better. I mean, they all have high grades. I really like Keanu Neal. I mean, look, his run defense is the second best among all safeties by Pro Football Focus. So when you look at that, that could be the reason to limit Todd Gurley. That could be one of those reasons. I would potentially watch out for that. Now, that may not be that much of a factor, but that just seems interesting. And look, this game can be a shootout since the Rams. Looking at the Rams last year, they lost 42-0 to the Falcons. They were a young team. They still had guys like Goff, Gurley, but they're significantly worse. They have grown so much since they lost 42-0 last year against the Falcons, and the main reason I think is the coach, Sean McVay. Now McVay, who worked with Kirk Cousins in Washington, is 31 years old, rookie coach, helped Goff transition. Now Gurley looks like an MVP. I think McVay's play calling and figuring out what to do on plays, I think that's the main reason. Just always knows what play to call. And look, Rams are first in the NFL in points scored. First in the NFL. And Goff. Is Goff an MVP candidate? I think so. I think we'll get some votes. I don't think we'll win it this year. And Goff played only 15 games. They rested the last game Gurley. Now, what you see of Gurley is barely missed winning the NFL rushing title. 1306. Had the most touchdowns scored in the NFL by a running back. 13 on the ground, 5 in the air, 18 total. Was first on the team in receptions, 64. Second in receiving yards. Gurley is just having the best year of a running back in this year in the NFL, no question. Gurley might win the MVP. I really think Gurley could. Now it's rare. A running back in order to win the MVP has to have an historically great year, pretty much. And Gurley, maybe not quite historic, but it's one of the better seasons I've seen in a running back in quite some time. And look, Gurley could be the key today against the LA Rams. Could rush for over 100 yards and get over 100 receiving yards. And the receiving core, it's not great. It's not great. Cooper Kupp had a really good rookie year, led the team in receiving yards, 868. Was second in receptions. Played really well down the stretch. Look, and the Rams' options, they're not that great. Watch for Sammy Watkins on the deep ball. Robert Woods had a 94-yard touchdown earlier this year. So, look, they can. Their offense can be explosive now. Look, none of the receivers are anywhere near as good as Julio Jones. None of them are as good as Julio Jones. But that doesn't mean their offense can't perform. And their defense is quite good too. It is really good. They have a lot of athletic guys who can really move around. Really slow offenses down. Aaron Donald, I think, could ultimately decide the game. Could get multiple sacks, as 11 this year. And could really just limit the Falcons' run game, could really make the Falcons miserable today. Aaron Donald could be the difference between a Rams win and loss. I really think that's true. And look, great defense. And like the Falcons, both have good, not quite great defenses. So this game, I really think that the Rams don't have as much playoff experience, and the Falcons are young. They're young. But when you go to the Super Bowl, that's playoff experiences. And look, I think this game will be a shootout. I really think so. I think it can be maybe a historic shootout. I have the Rams winning and playing the Vikings. But I say the Rams' offense will be much better. But here's another thing. If the Falcons win, and I think that is possible, they will go to Philadelphia. And in Philadelphia, I feel like is shorthanded. Nick Foles, to play Nick Foles, makes me nervous. I think the Eagles could be one of those one seeds who, all of a sudden look like a Super Bowl caliber team to now not really being in it. And look, if they win, I think they'll beat Philadelphia next week. I think the Falcons can go to the Super Bowl. I think they can go to the Super Bowl if they win. Now, like I said, both of these teams are capable of going to the Super Bowl. Yet, one of them has to lose today. I have the Rams winning, but I won't be shocked at all if the Rams or if the Falcons win. So, Panthers Saints, here we go. So the Panthers are playing in the playoffs for the first time in 2 years. Yes, they lost the Super Bowl 2 years ago. And they've made it back after finishing last place in the NFC South. Now, they both have 11-5 record, but the Saints own the tiebreaker since they're 2-0 on the Panthers. And look, both teams have the talent to go to the Super Bowl, but only one of these teams can win. So Cam Newton. Look, Cam Newton could have a terrible game. Could be inaccurate. Like you saw them play against the Saints in Week 3. Newton missed a lot of throws. In fact, Newton has missed a bunch of throws this year. Can be inaccurate. Could face a lot of pressure from guys like Cameron Jordan. The Panthers could fall out of the playoffs. And I think they're vulnerable. Knowing that, one, they lost in Week 3 in Charlotte. They also lost in Week 13 in New Orleans. So I think the Panthers will lose this game. Now, they're turnover prone. Now the Panthers, they like to run a lot. They do, but neither one has a high total rushing. What the Panthers do is they look, they may get a lot of runs. It may work out great. And they can possibly win with running. This could be a running shootout. But there's a chance the running game cannot work out at all. And their offense doesn't move. And really, receiving, look, Cam Newton's never had an elite receiver. McCaffrey could catch a lot of passes out of the backfield. McCaffrey could have a big impact on this game, rushing and receiving. Funchess, who had some really good games, was one of their better receivers this year, but is not a great receiver. Olsen's been limited this year, has been hurt. Now, the Panthers' strength is defense. They really bring down a lot of people. They get to the quarterback a lot. They stopped the run. And Julius Peppers, who, look, 11 sacks at age 37. 11 sacks. K1 Short, really good at the line. Their defensive line is really good. And, of course, Kuechly's been great this year, makes plays all over the field. Now, look, the Saints, they're really good at running. And it's possible the Panthers' run defense could cause the Saints to throw the ball more. Something that Drew Brees, which has made the Saints lose a lot of games in years past, because in years past, the Saints were really dependent on Drew Brees. And that's possible that could happen again. The Panthers could take away the running game. And finally, the Saints. So, look, they're back in the playoffs, and yes, Brees in years past would throw for 5,000 yards, yet they couldn't defend the pass, they couldn't run. It was all Drew Brees, pretty much. And that resulted in them missing the playoffs. This year, the Saints have brought back offense. They've had Alvin Kamara to take the pressure off Brees. And Ingram, they each get the ball a lot. They run a lot. They do a lot of passes to the running back, so Brees really doesn't have to use the deep ball, and it works. The Saints are second in points. They're fourth in total yards, and fourth in run defense. And, look, Brees, his numbers aren't as high as they were in the past, obviously. But that's a good thing, since the attempts and passing yards are the same levels when they won the Super Bowl. The same level. And the completions are as low as 2009, but Brees led the NFL in completions and completion percentage. So when you look at that, they're running efficiently and still threw for over 4,000 yards once again. So despite all that, despite running a lot more, despite doing a lot of shorter passes since Kamara, you can do a screen pass and Kamara can go 20 yards, pretty much all of them, that really helps out. So the Saints' offense has become more efficient. They've done a good job of developing the defense. It has gotten better. And I think the Saints are favored in this game. Now, going back, yes, running. Ingram rushed for over 1,000 yards, rushed for more yards this year than last year, even though Ingram splits a lot of carries. 12 rushing touchdowns. Kamara led the NFL in yards per carry and had well over 700 yards and could break out a long run any time. He had 81 receptions, one of the highest totals of any running back in the National Football League. And his 826 receiving yards, second on the team. Michael Thomas really developed. 104 receptions, third in the NFL. Had almost 1,300 yards. Look, this is their passing offense. They have a really solid passing offense that can get them down the field at pretty much any point. They will move the ball. Their offense, I think, is better than the Panthers. I trust their offense a lot better than the Panthers, and their defense really isn't that far behind. And their defense is not great by any means. And you go back to the beginning of the year of the Saints, their defense. You saw against Minnesota, they got torched by Sam Bradford. In week 2 against New England, the same thing happened. Their defense was torched. And it looked like, for a while, that same old Saints, they can't move the ball. They can't. Their defense is going to be terrible again. But that changed. It helped a lot due to drafting. And they take the ball away a lot. I mean, look. Marshawn Lattimore. Best cornerback in the league already. Very close. And was a rookie. That helped tremendously. As that helped, and they also drafted Marcus Williams, another rookie. So that helped with their coverage. As well, they're investing in young players to lead the pass defense. And, of course, they have Cameron Jordan, who is the best, maybe the best defensive end in the NFL. Fourth in the NFL, 13.5 sacks. This defense is so much better. They have a lot more defensive combinations. You put in Cam Jordan, Lattimore. That they can take away the pass in both ways, can really disrupt the run. And look, the Saints are favored in that way. Since 1, Drew Brees does not turn the ball over like Cam Newton. 2, Brees does not get sacked as much as Cam Newton. The Saints have a better line. They're better at running. Their running backs are more efficient. They move the ball better. And The Panthers, yeah. Yeah, the Panthers have good linebackers. Yes, they have a good defensive line. But their weakness is the secondary. Their secondary really isn't that good. They don't have any key major factors. And the Saints' secondary is much better. In fact, I trust it a lot more than the Panthers' secondary. And here's another thing. I predicted this earlier in the week. I think the Saints, they're going to win tomorrow. And I think they can go to the Super Bowl. Since I had the Rams winning. I think they beat the Eagles. And I think they can either beat the Vikings or the Falcons once again. I have the Saints going to the Super Bowl. And they're going to win tomorrow, and their journey to the Super Bowl is going to start. Now, the Panthers can win. They can win. But I had the Saints winning, so based on predictions, let's go back. Titans-Chiefs. I had the Titans winning. So, and then I had I had the Chiefs winning. And then I had the Jaguars winning. So Jaguars-Steelers. And we'll have Chiefs-Patriots. Now, I have the Rams winning, so it'll be Rams-Vikings. And now I have the Saints winning, so it'll be Saints-Eagles. That's what I think the divisional round will be. Of course, I could be wrong. But the playoffs start today. Can't wait to watch. It'll be very interesting as we get closer to the Super Bowl. All 12 teams have a shot at the Super Bowl. And, like I said, the road begins now. So thank you for listening. I think we'll come on and talk about the divisional series in about a week from now. And thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.